Hey, thanks for tuning in. We are Living Fit, your trainer's trainer. We not only have education courses for trainers to upgrade their game, but we have full on follow along programs, workouts, exercise breakdowns, nutrition plans, and fitness equipment for you to reach your fitness goals. Now, enjoy the show. What's going on, guys? Master Coach Aaron Guyette. We are here on the Living.Fit Show with Aaron and
Marcus.
Actually, it's with
Marcus
and Aaron. And we have the incredible pleasure of not only being in the space that is owned by Taylor Potts, but we actually have Taylor Potts here. So how I've met Taylor is he's taken some of the coursework from myself, and then just started to get to know him and realize that he's kind of a Renaissance man. He owns multiple businesses, but one of his passions and something that I think he just is incredible at is coaching, and specifically coaching athletes. So yeah, without further ado, how did you get into fitness? Kind of what brought you to this space?
Thanks for having me, guys. It's a pleasure to be here. Stoked to be on the show. I guess my fitness journey kind of started at a really, really early age. My dad in Texas would go for runs, and I would ride my bike alongside of him. We'd stop at a park, do some pull-ups, do some dips. And that's kind of how I got into physical training primarily. And then I did sports as a kid and just loved being active, continued that. I'd say I got really serious with training in my teens in high school. I did Taekwondo competitively. I won the world championship in 1997 and I did some Olympic stuff as well. So that's when I got serious about training, and I realized how much I loved it, how much I loved the team aspect of training with people. And that's kind of how I got started.
So do you know Ethan Burns?
I do not.
Oh, okay. So he must have come then after you.
So for
Taekwondo.
what? Taekwondo. So 1997 is when I won champ.
Yeah, so he must have come after you, I'm guessing. Yeah, because he was champion as well. And he was in the Olympics for it. But maybe he came before you. I don't know.
This is like the Herb Perez days. So I was an alternate on the New Mexico State team for Sydney 2000. Nice. But kind of chose school over that. And I don't regret that at all. But yeah, just took a different path.
Ah, very cool. Awesome. Very cool. Yeah, I was just, well. Yeah. So probably there's a couple people out there that are getting weirded out by the fact that you and I don't have shoes on, and Marcus refused to take his shoes off. Refused. You had beautiful feet. I saw him. You have beautiful feet. And so that people don't get weirded out or grossed out by it, there is a purpose for that. And I know you and I both agree and train this way, right? When we train ourselves, we train barefoot. When we train our clients, we have them train barefoot. What are some of what kind of shifted that for you? Because obviously you've started training from a young age.
I belong to a gym called Virtus. My buddy Eric owned it, and he was a big advocate of barefoot training. And that's where I started training first without shoes. And, at first I was pretty hesitant to do it. I'd, worn shoes throughout sports and through all my competitions and everything. And I felt comfortable in shoes. So, taking them off was kind of a shock at first, but I realized the benefit to it immediately on many levels. The first thing is I like to talk about is proprioception. So proprioception is your body's awareness of movement in space. So I kind of look at your feet like sponges, right? They're constantly soaking up this information, this feedback, telling your brain how to move, where to react, where to go to. And when you wear shoes, you mitigate that feedback. And I think that's so important in sports and athletics to have that. So that was the immediate thing I noticed.
Yeah. So even though Marcus is against barefoot himself, you've got Vivo Bears, right? Yeah. You've got some shoes that.
I've been using barefoot style shoes for so long for that exact reason, having that feedback, which I thought you said feedback. And I'm like, man, your pun level is like through the roof this entire time. No, but yeah, having that connection to the ground is so, so crucial.
Agreed. There's a concept called ancestral athlete. I don't know who came up with it. I think Ben Greenfield was one of the pioneers of it, but it's the whole concept of that, our ancestors walked around, hunted, gathered barefoot, and our bodies are meant to move in that way, and putting shoes on that kind of changed things. So
What would you say is the biggest thing that we should worry about before we get into all the other benefits? People get so into something, they get so into the barefoot thing. What do you think is like the biggest danger of barefoot? Because people will first say like, oh, you're gonna break your foot or you're gonna drop something on your toe. Like, what things have you heard before?
I mean, you could progress to a lighter shoe like the Vivo Barefoot, or there's a ton on the market, but you can start by doing a minimalistic type shoe that allows a lot more mobility and a little bit more proprioception than a typical like running shoe or fitness shoe would do. That's one step. And then from there, I would just say it's time and surface. So you want to start on something a lot softer, a lot easier on your feet, because, there's a lot of myofascial tissue and things in your foot, and that needs to kind of be, worked in. You can't just jump into hard surfaces. And the amount of time you do, I wouldn't, do anything more than 30 minutes at first. And then you really want to make sure you have, mobility and stretching of your toes and your foot complex before you start doing plyometric exercises per se. Yeah. So you really kind of want to ease into it.
I've got a couple nightmare stories. Like, where either the client decided to, get the 5-finger toes, shoes or whatever, or, and went from, hyper cushion, or whatever, like, and then put those on and then was destroyed, right? Because they spent all day in it and they're like, I'll never do that again. Like, just like you're not going to throw a 500-pound barbell on your back and go to squat it right away.
Absolutely.
Progressive overload.
And I like to use that analogy as well. Some barefoot education people say shoes are foot coffins. I don't go to that extreme. I think shoes.
Say foot prison.
Foot prison. I think shoes have a place, fashion, obviously performance in sport, like having a cleat dig into turf is going to make you perform better. I get all that stuff, especially football players cutting and moving. You need to tape your ankle and have a proper shoe that, supports your foot for that high speed activity. I understand that. But when it comes to training, you should always listen to your body, right? You listen to your body in training and you tell it to shut up in competition. So how can you listen to your body if you're not getting the proper feedback? So I think that starts with the feet. And another analogy I like to use is, people that use weight belts for squatting or wrist wraps for deadlifting, I would say if you can't do a squat without that or lift that weight without the straps, why are you doing that weight?
Yeah.
So it's just a crutch. And I think the shoe is similar to that. Now, I get it if you're powerlifting, you're going for a 1-rep max, you're trying to be safe. I understand that. But when it comes to just general training, you need to, you need that power, that connection.
Well, you don't get to, in life, say, hold on, I need to put on my weight belt.
Exactly.
Hold on, I need to put on my cleats, or
Absolutely.
Hold on it, right, in life. And in games, you can wear some of the things that might assist or in competition that might assist with it. And that's part of that competition, it's part of the rules.
Right.
But that's not the way it is in life, right? So we want to, what can I do without the apparatuses? And then also maybe, I want to see what I can do with the apparatuses.
Right.
There's nothing against that. But yeah, in life, we don't pause. I need a break while we're fighting for my life. I just, can I get that was 5 minutes. So can I get a rest and get my corner guy to come out, my cut man to come out?
I say that all the time too. It's like, I train a lot of athletes, but I train a lot of, soccer moms, baseball dads. And you might say, well, why do they need to be athletic? They just want to lose some weight. I think being athletic is training for life. And part of that is being prepared in every aspect. And I think, barefoot helps do that.
Going back to the proprioception, I think people who are starting to get into barefoot training, or they understand a little bit and they're starting to hear the benefits, they hear that a lot, but why is that so important? Why is it so important to have that connection to the ground? Like, why should I care?
I think it helps you perform better. I mean, I do a test called VOR. It stands for vestibular ocular reflex, right? So I have an athlete hold a PVC pipe with a couple letters on it, and they focus on it letter and they move their head back and forth because all your balance starts in your ear complex. And I had them on one foot most of the time. And I noticed people with shoes have a lot harder time finding that balance than people who are barefoot. So right there, that kind of just proves to you that you're just more in tune with your own body by being barefoot. And that is proprioception. Yeah. And I mean, when it comes to jumping faster or making a cut on the football field or kicking or punching or driving off the mat in jiu-jitsu, that comes from your feet. And a lot of that power, you can derive that from proprioception. So I just think it's a paramount part of anything athletic.
Yeah, I mean, if we're into understanding our environments, like even just, understanding a book or understanding from a concept standpoint, right? So can I take in this information visually or take in this information, auditorily, whatever, and then put it together in my brain and then be able to regurgitate this in a formative or effective way? Right. Same exact thing goes with the stuff that we touch and feel, right? Like if I can't understand what's going on from foot up, I'm missing a couple of chapters in the book, right? Like, and I'm trying to, restate something cognitively or whatever. It's just not going to happen. And it's been stated, right? Movement's for the brain and the brain is for movement, right? It's not the brain is just for cognitive development only. Right. It's like, no. Primarily it's there so that we can move effectively from point A to point B and do things well, right? Which also then helps our cognition, right? So I know you were talking about the skeletal structures and what's significant about skeletal structures, body and foot, that makes the foot important.
The foot's incredibly unique in the fact that if you have 206 bones in your body, which we do, right? Over 26 in each foot comprises your entire skeletal structure. So a fourth of your body's bones are in your feet. So to not properly train that, to kind of neglect that or, mitigate that with shoes is, I think you're doing your body a huge injustice. So you want to focus on, strengthening those bones, those ligaments, those tendons, that fascia, and being able to develop that, because it really is, it's your stability. Yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, we would have a saying back when we trained, and obviously I still use it now. It's like mobility comes before stability. Like, but if you can't be mobile, then you're not going to be as stable. Right. And that would just totally make sense. If you got all these connections with all these bones in your foot and you don't have good mobility there, then you're not going to have good stability. And then that goes back to what you were saying, like driving for a baseball swing or a golf swing or, something like that.
So we have a couple things I do specifically here at the Forge to kind of jumpstart that process. So I have all of my athletes stand on balance pipes. They're basically just some cylinders. And we put them vertically, horizontally in different positions. And you just kind of roll your foot over the contour of the pipe, spread out your toes, and kind of just roll out that myofascial tissue, loosen up the bones, the ligaments, kind of get all that jump started and loosened up. And it also helps with proprioception. Again, you're learning how to balance and stabilize your body in space. And then after that, we do some what I call slant board work. So I have these small little slant boards that they will actually raise up onto the ball of their feet. And I'll throw balls at them that are different weights, and they'll throw balls at each other and kind of make it a game where they're trying to make each other fall off the slant board. But it really stabilizes the ankle complex and strengthens your foot, and just in such an incredible way. I mean, I noticed athletes just in 2 weeks' time have such stronger feet and such better balance than when they walked in the door.
So what about injury prevention for the ankle, the knee, the hips, even the spine? Are you finding that there's a significant difference between those that have trained with you for a while barefoot and then those that have just maybe come out of an injury or something?
Absolutely. It's always, progress when I do this barefoot type of training. One of the things I noticed the most is I have people that come in with flat feet. And, you need that arch. You need that arch to use to drive torque when you run and when you jump and things like that. And it's very hard to do with flat feet. Now, you can wear orthotics and things like that. But again, if I told you I could fix your body naturally for life, or you could take a pill and rely on that for the rest of your life, I think you'd probably choose, the first option.
As long as I get to chop it up.
So, we could fix a lot of these foot problems with this type of training, and you don't need to rely on orthotics or shoes for that. And a lot of times the issues you have in your knee or your hips or your back, it's all from your foot posture, and that can be corrected from the ground up, literally. So yeah.
That's such an important concept for people to realize, is that, like you said, up to your shoulder, up to your neck can start with your feet. We think about how little we actually pay attention to our feet when this is your connection to the ground. This is where it all starts.
Right. There's a whole other side of thought too, where, we live on planet Earth and there's magnetism flowing through Earth, and it's important that your body is connected to that magnetism. I mean, you hear about these things called copper fit, or these, devices that have magnetic flow through them to increase blood flow and things like that, healing properties. You also get that connection by walking around barefoot in the sand on the ground. So I think that's a benefit as well.
Yeah, I mean, and we could get into fringe science potentially, whatever, if we go a little bit too far. But the reality is there's iron ore and like magnetite deposits in the Earth's crust. And so this is actually into my, kind of other field where I'm a subject matter expert in land navigation. And because that's how the compass works, right, is those magnetic fields. And if we don't think that it has any play whatsoever, obviously that's not true. That's how all of our GPS systems and compasses and all this stuff works. It's from those magnetic fields, which is the Earth's surface. So yeah, it might be playing a role, and grounding is a thing. It's
absolutely a thing. I mean, you could dive down the rabbit holes, get as crazy as you want to on it, but you can't deny that there's some benefit being grounded and connected to Earth, at least part of your day.
Yeah. Yeah, I can't think of a better sleep than laying on the beach, right? Like you take a nap on the beach, it's like 7 beers.
Man, it's like you just pass out in the sun. It's all because of that grounding, that connection to the ground.
Absolutely.
So we're in the forge. When did the forge start?
The forge started about 3 years ago in my garage. So I started building my gym over time, right? I would just, get a rack, get some kettlebells, get some ropes. And I just kind of collected pieces over time. And then a few friends started asking me, hey, would you write a training program for me? Or would you help me lose weight? I want to gain strength. So I said, okay, sure. I started training people and started outgrowing the garage. And also kind of didn't like having people over to my house all the time in my garage that I didn't know super well. So that was kind of awkward. So I opened a space, and then before a year even lapsed, I expanded to what we are currently in now. And I love it. I mean, I've gotten a lot of referrals, word of mouth, and it just kind of grew into what it is. And I love it. It's my passion.
What would you say is your niche? Like this is either your favorite clientele or your most common clientele?
My most common clientele is high school athletes right now, just from all the referrals and word of mouth. And a lot of the parents will see some of the results in their kid and they go, oh man, where are you training? And I'll get hit up to train their kids. So that's my, I guess, bread and butter. But I mean, I have a wide range of clientele. I have older clientele. I've got younger clientele. I have dancers, soccer moms, golfers, MMA fighters. It's just kind of all over the place. But I love that because it really challenges me to program what I want, but across a huge different variety of athletics and walks of life. And that drives me. I love that.
And so obviously you're super into business as well, because you have a couple of other businesses. Are you comfortable talking about your other?
Sure. Yeah. My first one I started was with my dad. We still own it to this day. It's 10 years old now. It's Ace Hardware down in Alpine, San Diego County. It's kind of random how we got into that. He was in land development. I was in the medical field. Long story short, we just ended up wanting to go into business for ourselves. And with the recession happening and a bunch of different things changing in the workplace, we said, who better to work for than ourselves? So we were able to take some of our savings and start that. And then I was able to parlay some of the profits of that business into a restaurant in Fullerton called The Bowery. It's a pizza, craft beer, pizza parlor type place.
So job security for your training business.
Correct. And hopefully one day those are just kind of like outside income, and I can focus on this full time. It's becoming that way more and more, which is awesome. But I mean, if I could do this every day of my life, I'd be a very happy man.
That's awesome. So we asked this question of all of our guests just to get their perspective. So we would love to hear your perspective on what is Living Fit to you.
Living Fit to me is being healthy, but in all aspects of your life. So whether that be mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, I think you need to have balance of health in all fields of your life. To me, that's like the epitome of living fit.
I like that. Yeah. Short and to the point, but also spanning
everything, right? Spectrum, yeah. I mean, I'm sure we all have had a bad day at work and we go home and it can kind of flow into the family life, and that's not healthy. So it's important you have your family time, you have your spiritual time, whatever religion you're into or whatever you practice, to have that time for yourself, your emotional health, to be able to take inventory of what's going on in your life and balance that. And then obviously physical training for me, that's almost like its own side religion for me. I just feel at peace, kind of like a Zen-like flow state where I can just kind of zone out and be in tune with my body. I love that. And, I think you should have balance in your life.
So you have these high school athletes. Do you mentor that piece as well? Like with the physical, because I mean, these are young and impressionable, right? Teenagers. So how does that play out? How does LivingFit play out with your training here or, at their school or whatever it might be?
I try to definitely implement LivingFit in their life. It's tough. A lot of them are teenagers. They're going through all kinds of different things in their life. And to try to instill any kind of wisdom, if you will, on them, I take every opportunity to do that, whether it's talking about proper sleep, proper diet, respecting your parents, all that kind of things. I like to talk about all that. And I try to utilize, this gym as a microcosm for how they should live their life. It should be ordered. It should be structured. It should be disciplined. You should take it serious. You should enjoy it and have fun as well. And I take every opportunity I can to try to share that with them.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah. So have you noticed then when somebody gets started here, whether it's the high school athletes or your many other clients, that changing up their physiology, right? Changing up their physical training routine changes other areas and other aspects of their life?
Absolutely. I've had no negative feedback thus far, which I'm fortunate for. Knock on wood, hopefully that continues. But I find that most people, when they're happy with their appearance and how they feel physically, that just translates directly to how they feel with everything else. Yeah. Whether it be a body image issue or just getting the endorphins flowing in your brain and just being in a better state of mind, I find that it improves other areas of their life from what they've told me. So, just changing lives, no big deal. Yeah, that's what we do here. No, but I've noticed it definitely has a direct effect positively on the other aspects of their life.
Well, I mean, obviously it does for you, right? And so it live on it. Yeah, so it makes sense that it does it for them. Yeah. Well, Taylor, we are absolutely honored to have you on the show. I'm super pumped to be able to use this incredible space. And where can we find you?
On Instagram, The Forge Gym Fullerton would be the easiest place. And I'm working on a website and some other things, but that's the starting point right there.
Well, thank you so much.
Thank you guys. My pleasure. I appreciate it.
Hey, for more interviews like that, don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Also, if you're looking for not only those interviews, but follow along programs, exercise breakdowns, workouts, nutrition plans, and fitness equipment for your fitness results, make sure you hop on to Living.Fit, become a member today, and I'll see you on the next one.